Hello, my name is Berta Beltran, and I'm coming to you from the University of Alberta Observatory in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Today is 13th of October 2021, and right now is 12:30 in the afternoon. It's a clear day here in Edmonton. We are around 3 degrees, and so I'm looking at the sun, and I want to share the view with you. So this is the view of our sun today. Our telescope cannot fit the whole view of the sun. The telescope and the camera together cannot fit the whole view of the sun. So I'm just showing you this cropped view where you can see basically the lower half of the sun. Just for a scale, I'm just gonna mention that we can fit around 100 planet Earths on the diameter of the sun. So this is how big what the object that you are looking right now is. Just we could fit about 100 planet Earths in here. So all the features in the surface also have that characteristic. I want to mention two things. I have two dots in here that are a bit darker, and those two are not part of the surface of the sun. It's just dust in our camera. And just to demonstrate that, I'm just gonna move the telescope a little bit up and down. And this is a live view of the sun right now. This is what our telescope is showing us. So you can see that most of the features that I'm gonna talk about later to you do move as I move the sun, but those two darker spots don't. That is dust in our camera, so those don't belong to the surface of the sun. And another feature that I wanted to mention is that you may see the image of the sun coming in and out of focus as I'm describing it to you today. Maybe the edge comes a little bit more blurry, or the features become a little bit more blurry, and then they come back to focus. And that is not an artifact of our camera and the telescope. It's just the fact that we are looking at the sun through our atmosphere. Our atmosphere today is turbulent. Uh, the scene, the astronomical term to refer to the turbulence of the atmosphere today is not very good. The scene is not good. So there is some turbulence in the atmosphere that basically ends up producing an in and out of focus image of the sun today. Um, so I'm just gonna quickly mention some of the features that we are seeing today on the surface of the sun kind of clearly. The first thing to notice is that the surface of the sun is not just one homogeneous color as we are seeing it, but instead, it looks like the skin of an orange, pretty much. It has this mottled molting going on in it. It has a mottled appearance. Okay, so there's some darker and lighter areas, and it has kind of wrinkles or freckles on the surface like an orange. And that is due to turbulent eruptions of energy that are happening at the surface. So basically, the lighter areas are a little bit hotter and the darker areas are a bit cooler. And so there is some little energy being released and moving on the surface, and it's creating this appearance like the skin of an orange. Another, of course, the more significant feature for today's sun, I will say, is this very clear sunspot in here, together with an active region in here that is a brighter area. So sunspots are areas where the surface of the sun is cooler, and so that's why we see them dark. And here we have kind of the opposite. It's an area where there is actually more light being emitted, and therefore it looks brighter. All the features that we are seeing today are produced are due to the magnetic field of the sun. The magnetic field is always the responsible for most of the sunspots and prominences and other things that we are going to see today. And so there is a darker sunspot, and this sunspot a couple of days ago had a coronal mass ejection. It just ejected some plasma towards Earth, and that produced some beautiful northern lights that we were able to see here at higher latitudes. in Edmonton. There were beautiful display over the city just a couple of nights ago. I was very lucky to be seeing it. It was really bright. Um, Another feature is here. You can also see a little bit, other than the molted appearance, you can see actually a little bit more structure. And again, this is just the magnetic field lines that are creating some structure here on the surface of the sun. Is becoming an active region. Maybe a sunspot ends up developing in here. And then another feature that I wanted to mention today, and for that, I'm gonna increase slightly the exposure of the camera. So I'm overexposing the center of the sun so that I can show you this brighter, um, this these areas in here called prominences that are slightly less bright, and therefore I need to increase the exposure to be able to see them. But today you can actually see several prominences going on right now on the surface of the sun. So this one is the biggest today. This is hydrogen plasma being ejected out of the sun. Most of it ends up falling back into it, and it creates these beautiful arches and shapes. These do change over time, but change in the matter of hours. So we won't be seeing them changing right now, but they are changing and they are moving. And if we look at them 1 hour later, they will actually look different. And today it will be a completely different pattern of prominences than the one that we are seeing today. Those are really beautiful. So we are having a nice view of the sun today. I quickly wanted to show you the telescope that we are right now using to observe the sun. It is I am inside one of the domes at the observatory at the University of Alberta. And we do have this special telescope that we use. It's only designed to look at the sun. It's an H alpha telescope designed to look at the chromosphere in the atmosphere of the sun. And I have it connected to a camera, and the camera goes to a computer, which I'm using right now to talk to you. All right, so let's come back to the view of the sun. Um, and so through that telescope that you have seen, this is what we are looking at right now. I just have another slide to show you that explains a little bit how sunspots are formed. Let me go to it, and I can explain in detail how um, how the sunspots form. So the sun, the magnetic field of the sun follows an 11 years long cycle. At the beginning of the cycle, which was the state of the sun a couple of years ago, for the last 2 years, the sun has been at a minimum. What happens is that the lines of the magnetic field go from the South Pole to the North Pole, and they just look like the Earth. They're just a dipole with a negative and a positive, and they just follow straight lines. But as time passes by, because the sun is a ball of gas, the equatorial regions actually rotate faster than the polar ones. There is an even speed of rotation between the equatorial areas and the polar areas, and those make the magnetic field of the sun a little bit twisted. And as time passes by, so around 2 or 3 years away from the minimum, the magnetic field becomes so twisted that the strong fields can break through the surface and inhibit the heat flow and thus produce sunspots. So those are the sunspots that we are just seeing today. In here, there is an area where the magnetic field of the sun is basically kinking out into the surface and trapping the heat from coming out. And this is actually the opposite. There is more heat coming out from here. And again, the prominences are also magnetic field induced. So just gonna give you a second, again, a view of the prominences with a little bit more brightness. So you can see this is the same. These are really beautiful features today. This is a really big one. Again, keep in mind that you can fit 100 planet Earths in here, and the prominence down here is actually also, it looks like a triangle, whereas here it actually has more like an arch shape, and here is just more of just a bump. But there is really a lot of activity today on the surface of the sun. And anyway, that's all from us today from the University of Alberta. And looking forward to producing more of these videos for you with the moons on night sky objects and more videos of the sun, which is one of my favorite things to look at. And please let us know if you have any questions or comments about what we do. Thank you very much. Nice talking to you. Bye.